cloud. Many people have told me that they are planning to watch it afterwards. So, but we still have a nice crowd here watching live. So really lovely. Welcome to everybody. And so as you know, this is become a little bit of a signature experience, having panel conversations with women who live in Rhode Island, Jewish women who live here, who share with us different aspects of who they are and what they do and how they think, so we can try to make an already small state even smaller, get to know each other, and maybe have some inspiration from each other and support and love each other. And so whatever comes out of this, I'm sure it'll be food for thought for all of us. Our next Core Connects event will be in December. We're having book group, which will be on the 8th of December. We're reading Michal Oshman's book, What Would You Do If You're Not Afraid? It's a very easy read, but it has a lot of content that's really going to make a nice conversation. So I invite you all to read the book and come along, or not read the book and come along anyway. And then we have some other programming planning for December and beyond. And the challah bake, the great big Rhode Island challah bake, hopefully will go in person in February. So stay tuned for that. So this, as you know, is our Thanksgiving panel. We had a very successful panel last year, and felt like it was really such a meaningful program for so many people that it made sense to repeat that program. So we're repeating the program, but with 4 different women who will be speaking and sharing some of their thoughts about gratitude and Thanksgiving, to get us in the mood as we enter into the season of Thanksgiving, enter into the season of Hanukkah coming up on Sunday night, first night of Hanukkah, very exciting. And so just shining more and more light into the world. That's what we're here for. So we have 4 lovely ladies who've offered to present to us: Lisa Davis, Mara Ostro, Patricia Raskin, Elizabeth Ochs, all people I consider my friends. So it's very exciting. So thank you very much. And we will start. So the idea is everybody will speak for about 10 minutes, up to 10 minutes, something like that. And then we'll like settle that in, and then we can have conversation. We can talk. Other people can share what they think and how they feel and how they approach the holiday season, this Thanksgiving season, and share with us your thoughts and maybe have a little conversation at the end. So up to bat is Lisa Davis. You have to unmute yourself, I think, Lisa. And I asked each of the contestants, each of the participants, to just a little bit of how you'd like me to introduce you, because I could go on and on about each one of you. I actually met Lisa Davis a number of years ago. We traveled to Israel together and had a very meaningful experience in Israel, and have maintained our relationship and friendship since then. She describes herself, the first thing she describes herself, as a wife and a mother of 3, and a clean beauty advocate. Before diving into work full-time, she was a professional volunteer and active in many organizations. She loves to read and attempt to play tennis and tries to bring, and does bring, I attest, nachas to the East Bay of Rhode Island. And so Lisa Davis in Barrington, Rhode Island, please share some of your thoughts.
Elissa, thank you so much for that kind introduction, and welcome in all of you, our beautiful guests this evening. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to Elissa for organizing this really wonderful Zoom event. And thank you also to my co-presenters, who I'm excited to hear from as well for us this evening. I'm honored to be sharing on this topic alongside all of you. So what am I grateful for? What does it mean to me? What does my gratitude practice look like? When I reflect on what I'm grateful for, it's really almost overwhelming. I feel like I've been given too much. I am grateful for my life. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my faith, the opportunity to be and to do pretty much whatever I choose. I'm grateful for a profession that I love and that is so rewarding in so many ways. I'm actually grateful that most of my family lives very close to me, so I get to see them quite a bit. I mean, it's been hard, of course, with the pandemic, but now it's getting better. My mom actually lives in Barrington, as we discussed about 5 minutes ago when we all hopped on the Zoom, and it's great because we get together all the time. And my brother's family live in New York City, so we see them quite often as well. And that's a huge piece of my life and something I'm very grateful for. So, you know, to kind of dive deeply into this, my gratitude, I believe, primarily comes from knowing our family's history and knowing how my mother grew up with very, very little, knowing how my maternal grandparents suffered and sacrificed to come to this country. They escaped Nazi Germany in 1938 through family connections with the clothes on their backs. They lived in total poverty in Shanghai, China for several years throughout the war. My mother was born during this time, remembers, times of great poverty and stress with her family, and just remembers this deeply and has shared this with us on many occasions. After the war ended, they were able to make their way to the States, again, with lucky family connections. It was not easy. They struggled for years to make a living and to learn the language and the customs of a new country. And my mother always worked hard my whole life to provide for us and to make sure that we had my brother and I had a comfortable home growing up. I feel incredibly fortunate to be sitting here today, to be enjoying everything I enjoy. And my mother, actually, I wanted her to be on the Zoom tonight because I wanted her to know how much I appreciate everything, how grateful I am for her and how much she did for us. My gratitude also comes from knowing that I have been granted many privileges that I do not take lightly or dismiss out of hand, and that others do not necessarily have. I recognize this, and I believe that my gratitude must extend beyond simply being grateful to working towards the causes I believe in that will help and serve others. Giving of my time and money is also important to me. So that's a really big piece of my gratitude practice. In terms of what I actually actively do every day, I practice gratitude a couple of different ways. When I wake up, the first thing I do is write out a list of 5 or 10 things that I'm grateful for. If I'm pressed for time, it's 5. If I have a little more time, I write out 10 things I'm grateful for. And it can be anything in any order. I find that it really sets my intentions for the day. And it reminds me instantly that I already have everything that I could ever need or want. And sure, there are always things that we want or need, goals that we're aiming for. Maybe it's something we'd like to purchase or a place we like to visit or travel, but really we have everything we need and want. I've tried to teach my kids to do the same thing, varying degrees of success, but they're still growing, they're still learning, and to try to go beyond our wants and needs to those of the community and the wider world. My kids are keenly aware of things like racial injustice and social inequity, and all 3 are very strong supporters of marginalized groups, and they just constantly stand up for those where it's really, really important that they do so. And I'm proud of them for that. Another piece of my gratitude practice consists of a weekly learning phone session with Rebbitzin Ellie by Lori that I really treasure. Each week, we read pages from one of Esther Young Rice's books. Third in her trilogy is The Committed Marriage, which we are currently reading. And I find constant reminders of gratitude within those pages and learn even more from Ellie as we read together. She's a really storehouse of knowledge. I'm also grateful that even throughout this pandemic, we're able to keep this practice going. And we've actually finished 2 books together. And now we're on the 3rd book of the Young Rice trilogy, which I highly recommend. The first book is really kind of fun. The second book is, it's called Life is a Test. It's actually kind of a test to get through the book, but it's good. It's worth it. And the 3rd book is great so far. But I love that we have our 15-minute phone dates every week and we learn together, and it's really awesome. So that's another piece of my gratitude practice. I'm actually grateful that we had that time together, as short as it is. We actually got together a few times. She brought all of her kids over the summer. We got together by the pool a few times. The kids swam. It was just wonderful to see her in person. So thirdly, I represent a clean beauty company, and I have a large team that I lead and work with. And of course, I'm grateful for them, for the work they put in every day. And one of the practices that I actually work to instill in their workday is a gratitude practice. So I'm encouraging each and every one of the women who works on my team to develop and cultivate their own gratitude practice. I teach them what it is, what it can look like, how they can incorporate it into their day. And in fact, they really can't do their jobs well without this daily gratitude practice. It's a type of work that requires it to be successful. So when I see them embracing it, I know that it's really going to help them in their day-to-day work. Another few things is I also try to do acts of service when I can to show gratitude, like delivering plans to veterans, advocating for gun violence prevention, lobbying for more funding for global vaccinations. Even as simple as delivering a meal to a friend who could use a little extra help. Honestly, it is what most of us do without looking for recognition or reward, simply because it's helping others, right? And it's just a way to give back to our community because our community has given so much to all of us, right? And I think that's really what this is all about, just building community and showing love and kindness for each other. And that piece is gratitude. So with Thanksgiving coming, I'm extra grateful, as I'm sure many of you are, that we'll be able to hopefully gather with our family and friends to celebrate together. And after the last year and a half we have endured, it will be all the sweeter to see our family and friends in person again. And usually we go around the table at Thanksgiving and try to say at least one thing that each of us is thankful for. And I see no reason to break with that tradition this year. So that's really kind of what I wanted to share. And I'm so excited to hear what, my other three panelists have to share. I know we're all going to have very different takes on it, but thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Lisa. You covered a lot of territory there, really a lot of territory. And everybody's doing their, I don't know, Zoom calls, like applause. Well done. Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing your, actually, it's interesting when you said that you recognize the good. That's actually the Jewish teaching, is that hakaret hatov, to recognize the good, is the basis for gratitude. So you wove that in very expertly. Well done. So thank you, Lisa. So now I'm going to mute you if you don't mind. And we'll come back at the end to have a little conversation with everybody. So our next panelist is Mara. My lovely friend Mara Ostro has lived in Providence for 11 years, or although for me, she's always been here. And she has 3 children, beautiful, lovely children who are emerging into adulthood. She's a speech therapist and language pathologist, and works with local early intervention agencies serving kids birth to 3 years. She loves spending time with her kids, her family, and being outside in beautiful places. So I'm now going to invite Mara to share some of her thoughts, please.
Thank you, Elissa, and thank you all for being here. I'm sort of going to switch the order a little bit. When Elissa reached out to me a few weeks ago to see if I would be on this panel, all honesty, my knee-jerk reaction was, gosh, no. I mean, to me, I'll be honest, gratitude is a very personal thing. The way that I actually, it's a very big part of my life, and I frame my life around gratitude, and the way that I channel my gratitude is very, very personal. So I wasn't really sure. It was almost like she knew to call me about this. It was very interesting because she's never asked me to be on a panel before. But because the way that I show gratitude is actually through action. I'm a horrible gift buyer. I'm not great at thank you notes, but I show my gratitude to people I love, to causes that are important to me, to agencies and communities by actually doing action. Whether it's listening intently or being excited about something for someone, or cooking a meal, or volunteering. So when Elissa asked me, my gratitude for her was so overwhelming, because as everyone on this call knows, she's that person that is so incredibly clear in her own spirituality and religious road, yet she's dedicated her life to helping others kind of figure out what it is for them. She's the kind of person you run into on the East Side and you haven't seen her forever, and you talk to her for 2 minutes and it's an actual conversation. And you leave and you're like, oh my gosh, I just had a conversation. And there's been times in the last few years I've had to reach out to her and ask her for some very random help, and she's always been there. So my acceptance of this is actually an act of gratitude. So I think that's right there is how I show my gratitude, is by appreciating the people and places around me, and acknowledging that what's important to other people have to be important to me as well. So here I am. I think for me, gratitude is actually something I've thought about a lot, and is a 2-tiered thing. The first tier of gratitude is that basic platform, that foundation, sort of those big item things that are universal, right? Health, financial security, if you're lucky enough to have it, the house we live in, the people we love. That's sort of a foundation of gratitude. And no one would ever question you for having gratitude for that. Most people share that kind of gratitude. It's the layer of gratitude that keeps you grounded, that gives you perspective. And I mean, in all honesty, allows you to walk through life with a certain amount of grace if you can internalize that gratitude. And we all, anyone who's able to express gratitude, that's kind of the first level that we experience. For me, I've realized that as important as that is, and I've dedicated my life to working for causes that support that gratitude, it's not the stuff that gets me out of bed in the morning, right? I don't wake up in the morning and say, I have my health and a house to live in, like, I can't wait to get out of bed right now. I don't, I'm gonna be honest. I'm eternally gratitude and I dedicate my life to it, but it's not the exciting stuff. It's not the stuff that gives those people you see that sparkle and that happiness and that stuff that attracts you. There's another layer of gratitude. And to me, those are really, really, really small things and very, very personal and individualized. And I can go through some of the ones for me and you'll be like very surprised at them, but it is about creating those moments. Like, for example, if something for you is a sunset, going to find a beautiful sunset, but it's even more about being able to stop when one of them happens and realize like, this is something to be grateful for, even though it's so tiny. And this gratitude is going to make me a better person and it's going to make me stronger. So some of the examples of these things, and they've been really important to me in times of my life that have been difficult, because maybe some of those foundation gratitude things, health, financial security, loved ones have been shifted a little bit. And I've gotten through the days actually by depending on these little tiny moments and forcing myself to, at the end of the day, I do my gratitude practice at the end of the day, not the beginning of the day, to go back, and I have to name sometimes where I took a pause, where like, I was like, wow, that made my whole body feel better. So like some examples for me are actually the smell of the water after you boil corn. It smells really sweet. It does. It smells amazing. And it reminds me of summer and fresh food, and you don't make corn for yourself. So there's people around, and I've made it a practice to smell corn water. And it makes me really gracious and happy. So that's an example. Another one that smell related is when I go to my upstairs bedroom at night when the heat comes on in the winter, it has this really warm, cozy smell. So even if I'm taking up like my 7th load of laundry for the day, I have this like moment when I pause and I'm filled with gratitude and re-energized to be a better person for my family. There's obviously the smell of a baby's head. The smell of my daughter's car for some reason gives me that moment of pause. I love it. It makes me feel like I'm a teenager and I'm happy for her. It can be touch, right? The feeling of someone's hand in yours, a kiss on the forehead from somebody, and you're just like, wow, for that 1 second, like I'm really grateful, like my body stops and I feel good. It can be the feeling of a blanket. It can be a song. It can be anything like that. And it's really personal. But for me, the practice of pausing and feeling those things during the day have given me the ability to really appreciate every day, even those hard days. And those are the moments that kind of get me out of bed in the morning. So it's like the second level of my gratitude. So the last part for me too happened about 11 years ago. I've always been really, gratitude has been important to me in these small moments, but it was August 25th, 2010. It was a rainy 25th of August. I was on Harvard Street in Brookline. And it was a horrible day for me and my children. I'm just going to say that, okay? Like a life-altering kind of day after a really hard year. And we decided to go to Harvard Street to buy Keep Hope for Nathan for school, and to go to the butchery and buy some food, and go to Rami's for lunch. And we were doing it. And the last stop of the day was we went into one of the little Kobo, one of the galleries. And in that gallery was the print that's behind me. And I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's Shechianu. Okay, which is the prayer that I grew up with it. And it never really felt that special, but I grew up with the Shechianu, okay? And the translation of this one is, blessed are you who has given us life, lifted us, and enabled us to reach this season.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there, and my daughter's next to me. She has grape soda all over her shirt, and that was important. I'll tell you why in a second. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, we're here. Like, we made it to the season, right? And my God, and not only that, but the grape soda was because one of my daughters made my other daughter laugh during lunch, and she snarfed or grape soda all over her shirt. So I was like, we're not only did we reach the season, but we reached the season with like grape soda on our shirt. And I think it was just like a moment for me where I realized like, that's going to have to be enough, right? That we just make it to each season with these little moments. And I bought the print and I put it in this room, which is our everything room. We've celebrated every family dinner, every chag, every birthday, homework, conversations, arguments, everything happens in this room. And I look at it every day, and I don't know if my kids even understand the power of it, but they've grown up under this Shechianu. And one day I hope that they stop for a second and look at it and think, wow, like we grew up under Shechianu, and someone or something and ourselves are enabling us to reach the season all the time. And that is kind of enough for us. So that is my gratitude in a nutshell.
Oof. Very lovely, really lovely. Like I feel like I want to smell corn again. I go out and buy some corn so we can boil it and smell it. And you know, those little things. And the Shechayanu, to say like, I'm here, thank God, and I've got what I've got, and I'm happy for that. And even if it's grape on the t-shirt, and it's like, it's really lovely. Like I'm going to go away and remember these stories, you know. Like I even remember the ones from last year, people shared things. And so I don't think corn's going to ever be the same. Or the Shechayanu prayer. So thank you, Mara, very, very, very much for sharing all that you share with all the people around you. Patricia Raskin, somewhere in the dark over there, is our next. I don't know if there's a way to make yourself a little bit more visible, so when you speak, we can see you. If that is possible, to shine some light on your face, that would be nice if you can. Patricia is an active member of the Rhode Island Jewish community. She serves on the board of Temple Emmanuel. She writes a column in the Jewish Rhode Island. I think it used to be called the Jewish Voice, the Jewish Rhode Island. She's the recipient of the 2020 Providence Business News Leaders and Achievers Award. She's a media producer and broadcaster, podcast coach, and corporate trainer, focusing on positive thinking and human potential. So of course, we have to have Patricia on this panel speaking about gratitude and Thanksgiving. So Patricia, if you can make yourself a little bit more visible, I think it would be better. But either way, please could you share with us your thoughts? You have to unmute yourself first.
All right, thank you, everyone. First, I'd like to explain where I am. Tonight, my daughter's coming in from New York, my one and only beautiful daughter. And this was the time that she could come in. So I wanted to make sure that I could be with all of you. So I'm in my car and I'm waiting for the train to come in. So that's the only reason I'm in the dark, but I'm in the light with all of you. So I wanted to explain that to you, and hopefully you understand. Am I here? Can you all see me?
Yes, we can hear you, Patricia. We can hear you.
All right.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay. You know, it's very interesting for me. I've been fortunate to be able to do the kind of work that reminds me about gratitude every day. And there was a book by Richard Bach called Illusions, which in that book, it's a parable, and he has a seagull called Jonathan Livingston Seagull. And the seagull says in the book, you teach others what you need to learn most for yourself. And so that's what I've done for decades. I've needed something. I've needed to be more positive. I've taught positive thinking. I needed to be a better parent. I taught parenting skills. And every time I've done that, I've learned. For me, I have a lot of gratitude because my road has not been easy. There have been a lot of ups and downs in my work and in other parts of my life. And so every time I'm able to reach a goal, I look at it, I understand it, and I'm grateful for it. And I think one of the things that has helped me, you know, when I get anxious or I get worried, is to really feel that I'm surrounded, that God is there for me. And when I do that, and when I calm down and I breathe and I really kind of pray about it, I'm able to get through it. And then these little miracles happen. Somebody will help me, or I'll call somebody and I'll get the answer. And so as that has happened for me, more and more I have developed that trust, because I think that in the world we're living in, it's not always easy to stay positive. And so I think that the more that we can look at what are those little daily miracles that happen, and that's how I really do it. I don't have a set prayer every day, but every day I look at my day and I review it. I say, okay, here's what happened. Whether it was a webinar, whether it was talking to someone that I love, what happened today and what worked? What can I improve? What can I do a little bit better? But the other thing I think that I feel very blessed with is the ability to do the work I do, because I've interviewed thousands of people in my work. And those are people that all mostly have had obstacles and they turn them into opportunities, people who were scholars, people who were everyday people who've just made amazing strides in their lives. And that has really given me so much hope. So I think that being able to do the work has really been a healer for me. It's been part of the healing. And So I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful very much for my health. I'm an early baby boomer, and I've worked on my health over the years in terms of prevention, but we never know. And so I'm so aware of that, because when you have health, then you can do anything. I've also had my own business for a long time, and I've had some financial setbacks, which have been extremely painful. And again, I've used that resilience and that prayer and talking to people and just keeping that goal alive. I think what has helped me through all of this is been able to see somewhere a light. And if I know there's a little light, then I can move through something. So I've always been able to feel the emotion. Sure, you feel the pain, you feel the sadness, you feel the loss, and you feel it because you need to go through it. And then from there, I've moved into, okay, where is the opportunity here? Where do I go from here? And I think that probably has helped me more than anything, is the ability to be able to see the opportunity somewhere. And I mean, I think it's important to talk about this because it's not all rosy. There are painful moments, but it's where do you gain that support? And I think the other thing is the role models, being around those people that inspire you and that watch your back and are there for you, whether it's your family member or your friends. So, as I said, for me, it's been really a process of every day. It's been setbacks, and then I've turned around and I've accomplished things. But I'm grateful for the people in my life. I'm single, and I've recently met a wonderful gentleman, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to have, a wonderful relationship. And how do and learning how to, and I think someone said something to me, I think it was a teacher or a therapist, said, you learn the most when you're in relationship. And I think that, being single for so long and always kind of, doing it my way, when you're in a relationship, it changes and you learn more about yourself. You also learn more about the person, but you learn about how you're reacting to things. And I think that if we really want to grow, that's what we look at. We have our own perception, and maybe I'm looking at this differently. I could see it in another way. And so I guess it's all about self-reflection, self-awareness, giving back to other people. One of my greatest satisfactions in life is when I do a webinar or somebody says, I really learned something from that. That really made me think. Or when I just give a little trinket to someone. And I also, the other thing that I do, and I do this almost daily, is when I've had a conversation with someone that really has meaning for me, or they've really touched me, I write them. Thank you, Elissa. That was such a great conversation. It really made my day. Or thank you for helping me with this computer problem where I had a glitch. And I was, and I'm in the middle of doing a webinar, and you were there for me. Thank you so much. And I do that a lot. And I think that has really helped me, and it's helped a lot of people. So I think in a word, for me, it's about being grateful, seeing the blessings in life, looking at the opportunities that are in the obstacles, and knowing that we can make it. If we really, really have that belief, that strong belief. And my strong belief is in showing positive messages to the world, whether it's through me or through someone I interview or helping someone do their own program. It's how do we get that positive messaging out there? And that's what it is. And I'm very grateful for my daughter, who's going to be here in 10 minutes. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Patricia. Actually, one of the things that you mentioned just now is seeing the miracles. And it's so apropos the season where we're enjoying to recognize the miracles, the little things that happen that seem a little bit maybe normal, or they're not, or they're out of the ordinary, but they're not, they are, and they're not, sort of recognize the miracles, the blessings, the things around us, to have a lens where we see those things that happen and be grateful for them and recognize where they're coming from. So, thank you for bringing God into the equation also, that we're grateful to God for the things that those of us that see the things that are happening to us as a gift from God, that also kind of elevates and brings us up a notch. So thank you for that. Now, Elizabeth, do I have to poke you? Are you there?
Still here.
Still awake. Wonderful, wonderful. My lovely dear friend Elizabeth Ochs lives down the block, has a 5-year-old who attends the Jewish Community Day School of Rhode Island. And I see some other people here who are affiliated with the day school. So nice you have a little fan club here. Wonderful, wonderful. And I'm a fan of yours. I've known you since you were a student at Brown University. And now you are a program officer at the Bronfman Fellowship, and just a lovely, sweet, kind, generous person that I bump into not often enough. So Elizabeth, you're up, please.
Thank you so much for the invitation, and thank you to all the other speakers and everyone present here tonight. I wrote down what I'm going to say, so I'm going to jump in if that's okay. And I have a cat purring nearby. Maybe you'll get to hear that too. There are things that are too easy to take for granted, and they are the things that I would miss most of all if I didn't have them. Access to healthcare, education, home, heat, food, clothing, freedom to express my identity and opinions without fear of violence. Right now, I know there are families sleeping in cars, walking in deserts and jungles towards freedom, hiding at home because they fear for their life, looking in trash bins for food. The privilege I have is so deep and so extensive that when I'm asked to think and share about my gratitude, I get to think of the beautiful, tender, and minute details of life, the ones that you can take time and energy to notice and see when you are living on stable ground. Moment one, I'm snuggling next to my 5-year-old son at bedtime, and he is mid-sentence and then drifts off to sleep. Listening to his breath, his resting eyes, his energy is both so absent and present at once. This moment when parenting is about stillness, just being a witness to breath and release. Moment two, I often walk the Blackstone Park through the wooded paths and down along the Seekonk River. The sky is layers of blue and purple and pink. The water is glittering, spots of elated light. I see a still bird, perhaps a duck, a great blue heron, absolutely still and appearing to want or need nothing, as if to ask, what's the rush? Don't you know you have everything you need? It doesn't ask me if I deserve to see its beauty, nor do I expect it to put on a show. We are still nature beings together. Moment three. A week ago, my niece and nephew, 13-year-old twins, had their bar and bat mitzvah. I was sitting in their synagogue listening to them chant Torah with a Syrian trope. Each time my niece hit a particular note, she would hold it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds or more. I felt a collective holding of breath. My mom and dad sitting next to me. Who would have known a year ago, a month ago, a week ago that we could be together? My husband by my side, my son on my lap. I sensed that even my almost 90-year-old grandmother, zooming in from many states away, was too. My niece's notes were powerful, holy, demanding presence, reclaiming space. One of my rabbis, Mary Oliver, once wrote, I go down to the shore in the morning, and depending on the hour, the waves are rolling in or moving out. And I say, I am miserable. What should I do? And the sea says in its lovely voice, excuse me, I have work to do. Indeed, there is so much work to do within myself, in my community, in our community, in the world. But I hold these grateful moments in my pockets, in my breath, in my connections, and all I can say is thank you, thank you, thank you.
I think we all want a copy of that, Elizabeth. That's a lovely, feel very calm now. Thank you so much. I appreciate the different perspectives that each of you brought to the same topic, and how you spoke with a depth, with a soulness, and it was expressed so differently. And what I heard you speak, Elizabeth, is a sense of quietude, the sense of appreciating the moment, of feeling grateful for what you have. And I think you said something there that struck a chord again. I have everything. And our forefather Jacob says that when his brother asks him tells him what he has. And Jacob says, I have everything. I have everything I need. I don't need anything else. What I have is what I need. And I think that's a little bit maybe what I heard you say. And it's really lovely. And I bless you that I bless us all that we can see that in our own lives, that we have everything, and that we appreciate what we have, and we can breathe deeply, and we can appreciate that we're all very, 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 very rich because we're happy with what we have. So I invite all of us, there's an amazing group of 30 women here who I know have a lot to say. And I would love, please, in this lovely safe space that we've created, for anyone, please unmute yourself and share a little bit of who you are, where you are, and any reflections, thoughts, contributions, comments, anything that, so maybe just have a little bit of conversation in our last 10, 15 minutes that we have together. I'd really, really like to hear from you, please. Who will be our brave starter of conversation? I will. Great, thanks, Margaret. Yep.
That's Margaret. When Patricia was talking about doing work that she loves, and I think a couple of the other women, Mara maybe too, talked about loving their work. And what struck me is that bringing the gratitude makes the work lovely to you, that it may originate within you as opposed to the nature of the job. And I think that is a really precious thing that you can carry around and take with you anywhere with nature and relationships and so on. I think it's a practice rather than a moment, you know, it's something that you live in. And I think that's wonderful. I also was very happy to hear Elizabeth mention Mary Oliver, because I was thinking of Mary Oliver as you were speaking. Very poetic and beautiful.
Kara.
So I'm glad you said that, Margaret. And that was, people know that Rabbi Franklin always would bring up Mary Oliver and quote her from the Bima, and that was really wonderful. So thank you, Elizabeth, for bringing her to us. Mara, I want to thank you for, I have gratitude for you. And I have tears in my eyes saying this, talking about the Shechianu and your, I'd love to see what you have behind you. That was my father's favorite prayer. And he just passed away 2 weeks ago. And he was very ill in the end and had a lot of trouble speaking. But when we would get together and say prayers, we would always turn to him. And even at the very end, that was the prayer that he could get out. And so it's, I have to thank you, especially for talking about that.
Okay.
Another
Melissa?
thought. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Okay. Betsy and then Miriam.
I think it's really interesting because everybody's bringing up this idea also of what our sense of gratitude is constant, but it's something that can change. So it can change at different times in our lives, or might have a different focus on it. Mm-hmm. It's really a question of practice. And I think that's really lovely because it means you might have certain things, like I can remember lying in the morning sun before we'd go to Sunday school all the time. So to this day, like on Sundays, when we used to go, I just wait for the sun to come through just so I can feel it on me. So that would be a constant, whereas we might have other types of practices of gratitude that really change over our lifetime. So it's really cumulative versus it's this or it's that. Oops.
Yeah. Elissa, you're muted.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Elissa.
Miriam, did you want to say something?
Well, I really can relate to everything that was said. Mary Oliver is one of my favorite poets also. But I think one of the things is that, first of all, I pray every day. I thank God every single day. And I talk to God. And I really feel gratitude for the small things, for what was said sitting outside in the sun or passing someone. I guess the things that I am grateful for is the moment. And I think this is translated for me into doing advocacy in various areas. And so I'm just grateful for every single day. And no matter what it is, just grateful that I can be productive and have good friends and love and everything else. So I think it's just an everyday kind of living that makes me grateful.
Anybody else want to add something? I know there's a lot of people out here who have what to say. Roberta, please. You have to unmute yourself.
Okay, I just wanted to say I'm in this wonderful group from Temple Emmanuel that we started, the Jewish Book of Values. I know there's here we go, the Jewish Book of Values. And it's so wonderful. I mean, one of the things that they talk about, about tzedakah is more than charity. But I'm grateful just to have an opportunity. I'm grateful if there's someone that needs something that I could actually provide it, or if someone is homeless that I can give them $10, $20, whatever it is. Like if there's a person standing on the corner that needs something, I actually say, thank you, God, for letting me do this, because it's something that I can do. And I'm also grateful when people are honest enough to say what they need. You know, if someone really needs something, I need a hug, or I need food, or whatever they need, for someone to open up and be that honest with me, I'm grateful that person feels that way. So I guess, I just feel our Jewish values, to me, I'm so grateful for our values as a Jewish person that we follow. That's it.
It seems like there's a bit of a theme in the expression of gratitude as an action. That the gratitude translates itself, as Margaret wrote into the chat. It's a taking the feeling of gratitude and what you have, how rich you feel, and then giving back. Right. Seems like a very common refrain. Right. Cheryl.
I'm noticing that gratitude is contagious. As I sit and listen, I'm feeling warm and grateful, and I feel that energy spreading throughout the Zoom room.
So Elissa, I was just going to add one thing that I want you to say based on and listening to everyone about Judaism, because I think that for me, Judaism has just meant so much. I mean, there's such a pride for me in being Jewish, and it goes beyond it goes beyond everything. And I think our whole philosophy of giving back and caring and being there for others, I think is part of it. But I just think we're an amazing people. I just think we just are. So I wanted to add that because I think it's really special in terms of being grateful that I was born, that I was born being a Jew. So thank you.
Bonnie?
So Patricia, I was going to say something else, but I spoke with a woman who was not Jewish, and she said the only thing is she was not born Jewish. She really wishes that she was born Jewish. I had something very strange happen the other day at a small Whole Foods parking lot. I had a woman stop me and say, need money for food for my children. And I kind of looked at her and I thought about it, and I didn't really know what to do with that. And I dug in my pocket and I handed her some money. And initially was only going to give her a small amount, and I gave her a larger amount because I thought $1, $5 isn't going to go for much food if indeed she really does have children. And I looked down at her shoes and she said, yeah, you know what? I don't own shoes. I have just the boots, because they weren't tied. She didn't have socks on, and it was cool that day. And I thought, I think this woman needs a little bit more money. And then I walked away and I felt good about it, but I also felt, was I taken? And that's, I mean, it was such a strange, it was really a strange feeling, because I honestly didn't know. But just on the chance that she really needed that and she could provide a meal for her family, I was willing to take that chance. I did something today that I don't usually do. I took an elderly lady to the doctor, and she wanted to be there. She wanted me to be there with her because she was anticipating that she needed surgery. And she really does. And she's all alone. And I'm thinking, oh, I missed a whole bunch of other things. This was the most important thing that I did. And she was grateful, and I was grateful that she trusted me to be there at a very difficult moment. So it's these small things. I find myself waking up every morning, and I'm on a roll here. I've been doing the hand washing the only prayer every single morning, and I've done it now for more than a year. And when I look at my hands, I say, may these hands do something good today for someone else. And that's gratitude. It's gratitude to Hashem. It's just gratitude for being. It's gratitude for the gift that I have of being alive.
Thank you, Bonnie. Okay, we have time for one more. If anybody else would like to share a little bit of what they're thinking.
My gratitude is for being alive. A week ago today, at this hour, I was sitting in Rhode Island Hospital emergency room because a truck hit me head on at 4:30 in the afternoon. I was going about my life, just sort of having an ordinary day. I put tires on the car. I went to the market, went to the pharmacy, and life happened. And I walked away. I walked out of the car, no broken bones. There were no bruises, not even felt bruise.
Wow.
And so we go about our lives, and all of the gratitude that everybody has expressed, I share all of those. I am grateful that I have a warm home and more than enough to share and give and do. And yet the fragility of life literally hit me in the face today. And so it is with that I go into the Thanksgiving holiday, where I will be celebrating this day of gratitude with 35 of my cousins and children, my own grandkids included, and just being grateful that I am breathing and will be able to show up. Much more fundamental kind of gratitude.
Wow, Myra, that's unbelievable. That is unbelievable. That feels like a huge miracle. You know, we talked about little miracles. That's a huge miracle. So I guess there's a reason why you're here. There's a reason why we're all here, and that you feel that you feel that you were given more life. That's it's very powerful. I actually like to share a story. If nobody else wants to share one, I'd like to share one. I don't know how many of you knew Susie Kaplan. Does anybody here know Susie Kaplan? Is that a name that anybody knew? So she was a seasoned teacher in Hope High, then affiliated with Brown for a long time. And she was a woman I knew. And a few months ago, I met her and she told me that she had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and that they had given her 4 months to live. And she was a very private person and she didn't really let people, didn't want people around, didn't want anybody to talk to her or whatever. Maybe I'm the periphery of her friendship circle, but I thought about her a lot, almost every day from that day on. And as the trees were turning colors, and didn't we have a magnificent Thanksgiving? I mean, autumn season with the trees and the colors and the sun. And I don't know, I just, every time I'm looking around and I'm thinking, you know, this is fleeting. And how must it be to be Susie Kaplan and knowing, you know, that this is her, what she's been given. I don't know. I was more grateful, I think, for every moment, thinking like this, we have to live in the moment. I think, Elizabeth, you captured that very beautifully in your poem, the sense of capturing the moment, and like Myra, not knowing what will be, and go about your day, and who knows what's going to happen. So I'm sorry, Cara, for your loss. I'm very sad to hear that, and I'm sorry for your loss, and I hope that you're comforted by your friends and family and your memories, and really want to acknowledge that we're all giving you a virtual hug. It's not easy to lose a parent, that's for sure. So unless anybody else has anything to close out, which I'm sure we all do, but I think we've covered a lot of ground, and I think people have spoken from their hearts, and it is about soul connections and being connected to each other, and the joy of being part of a family. The Jewish people is a family. And actually somebody mentioned the word hope, the hope that we have, that, you know, for the future and what will be and who we are and how it's going to play out. It'll all be for the good. And if it's not good, then it's not the end. Anybody else want to say anything? I invite you to say something or to
Thank
say
you,
goodbye.
Elissa. Thank you for all you do.
Right.
So come to the next book group. It's going to be awesome. And I think maybe we should have a poetry jam. Wouldn't it be nice to invite Elizabeth back to read us another poem and have a few people share poetry?
I haven't written a poem in like 15 years, so you might have to wait for another 15.
It was great.
That was pretty
Yes,
magnificent.
I heard
I think
poetry
we should
in your
publish that
speech.
one. Good. All right. So poetry jam. I think that's the next good thing we should be doing. Cheryl, you write poetry. Get you to something. All right, ladies. Thank you so much for coming. And
Thank you.
Beautiful
Thank you,
Thanksgiving.
Alyssa.
And,
Thank you,
Happy
everyone.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy
Thank you.
Thanksgiving.
Good
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Ready.
Night.
Good night. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.